So, welcome to another episode of Journey into Retirement. It's been about a week since I did a video. Um, so, let's get back to what our objective is with the video and gaining a community and building a community. You know, I'm 55, going on 56 this year. I want to retire by November 2027. Again, first responder, fireman, paramedic. Been doing it for a lot of years. My biggest goal is to be prepared for retirement financially, mentally, and mostly physically. Well, financially is a big thing. But right now I'm focusing on the mentally and the physical part of it. I just came back from a holiday in Asia with my family, and you know what? I had a great time. But with that great time came a little bit of weight. So I kind of went there being about 215 pounds, came back pretty close to 230. And again, I don't have a problem, eating well, but when I'm on holidays, I kind of let go. So I do have to lose a little bit of weight moving forward. And last video, I kind of showed what I did to get in shape. I full-blown keto diet, worked out, and I'm probably going to follow that again, but more than likely just not the keto portion 100%. I'll be pretty close with low carb, but I won't go as hardcore. So far, been back about 3 weeks, and I've lost about 10 pounds, and I haven't really gone that hard. So I kind of want to talk about how I take my fitness goals. Again, I want to take as much muscle as I can as much muscle as I can into retirement and into old age. Now, the program that I work with, I do a lot of machine weights and dumbbells. I don't do a lot of free weight because of just unable to have the security of someone watching me, and just in case I drop a weight on me or I get fatigued and I can't go on any further. I read a book a long time ago. What is it? Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. I forget the author, Matthew. And he mentioned, his scientific research and his experience. He kind of started going heavy, training heavy. And I did that a few years ago, and I really found it worked very well. I wasn't really getting injured, and I was in and out of the gym in about 45 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. Ever since I first tried this kind of working out, I grew, got in great shape, and I felt strong, sturdy. And that's the way I want to feel when I go into my late 50s and 60s and 70s. Possibly, even 80s, as it's proven that we're all living a little bit longer. So my routine is pretty simple, and I'll throw it out there. Not that everybody has to follow what I do, but I go 4 exercises. I go 4 sets of 4, and those 4 sets are as heavy as I can go. And I do 4 muscle groups. So I do 4 exercises for that muscle group. So like, for instance, on Mondays, I do chest. And with chest, I do incline bench press, 4 sets of 4. And then I do 4 sets of dips. And then I do 4 sets of push-ups. Push-ups are the only thing I don't add any weight. The dips, I do put a dumbbell between my legs. And then I'll often do some flies, but most of the time I'll do some cable extensions just for the upper pecs. And you know what? With that, a few years ago, well, more than that, those pictures I showed, that's how I got my chest into the shape it did. So, and in and out of the gym, that's all I do, 4 sets of 4. But I go heavy, and I mean heavy, but I use a machine, so it's safe. So then on Tuesday, I used to do shoulders back to back with chest, but now I find it's a little much. But with shoulders, or Tuesday, I'll do arms. And again, I'll do 4 sets of 4 with only one difference. For biceps, I do 4 sets of 21s. And that's just, I'll go over that later. But I do that, and then I do incline bicep curls with dumbbells, as heavy as I go, 4 sets of 4, 4 hammers, and then sometimes I'll, with the 21s, I guess I don't do 4 sets of 4 because I do a little bit extra with the 21s. And that's all I do. So that's all I'm going to throw out there for my workouts. But that's how I do it. I break it into body parts, and I just go 4 sets of 4, super heavy, in and out. And now cardio, a few years ago, I didn't really do cardio. I just found dieting worked very well. But this time around, I'm going to do incline, treadmill, walking. And I find so far it works me out pretty well, actually. I might increase that as I go along, but right now, fat loss for me is 98%, 99% diet. So let's get away from the fitness stuff and let's get into, well, you know what, right now, I talk the talk about wanting to retire, and I do, but I also am still working full-time as a fireman. Then I also run my business. I do paramedic stuff on the side, and I basically work 2-3 full-time jobs, as I mentioned last video. Now I'm gonna have to do this quite hard because I do still have a lot of bills to pay off. I do have young children. So work-life balance is gonna be a little bit tough coming up, just because of the limited time frame I have to kind of get ahead and get prepared for retirement. So with that being said, I really had to be quite picky with my schedule. So in the mornings, when I'm not at work, which might change, I get up at 4 in the morning, and I'm usually in the gym by 4:30, 4:45. I do my half an hour in and out, and then I basically have a good healthy breakfast, very small, 3 eggs, onions, kind of an omelet that I make, and then I'm off to work. And sometimes I go to work for my company in the morning, and then I also go to the fire hall afterwards. Again, my work during the day, I'm just there as a paramedic, sitting in an office, which is almost the worst thing you can do if you want to stay in shape, but that's kind of my gig right now. So I am lucky being a firefighter. I do get to work out at work, and that helps out a lot. Now, what I want to do besides that, I kind of want to discuss the other things. My biggest thing is being present in life. And that means not stuck on the phone the whole time, and being observant, listen, and just being present. And I think that's what I lost the last 3 to 4 years. I wasn't present. I would be around the family, but I wasn't really involved. I was always so busy doing things. I have another YouTube channel that my son and I are fixing up a sports car, and I kind of got hooked on that. And you know what? I am a car guy. I love that kind of stuff. So it's hard not to do that. I find it's relaxing for me, which is a mental portion of this journey, that I actually enjoy working on machines because they don't really give me any hassle back. And after being a first responder, kind of being away from people sometimes is a nice thing. So with that being said, moving forward in the next year and a half, even beyond that, I just want to be present. I want to be more present than I have been. And I think many of us can actually sit down and think, how present are we? I do find a lot of us, even around the table at work, we're all glued to our phones, heads down, nobody talks. So going into retirement, I want to feel that I'm not glued to my phone, not glued to electronics. I'll do my vlogs, my stuff for YouTube, but other than that, I have a few channels that I like to watch. But from there, I want to be present. I want to talk to people. I want to be around people. I want to help people. Well, not that I don't help people now, but in a different way, not in a medical or an emergency situation. And I find a lot of us have lost that, being present. We get home, we say hello, we have our dinner, and then we're glued to our phones. And I think to become healthy, especially as we retire and don't have that social settings, we have to work hard to be present. And I kind of almost feel like I have to pre-train to do that. So that's another goal of this video. I do want to pass on that I'm going to start listening. I've done this years ago. I actually listened to a book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I actually listen to that book probably 7, 8 times, maybe even 10 times a year. I just love it. The guy is he's a thinker. And he's in his mind a lot, but he's also he's very deep in thought. And I think he's very aware of what's around him and what's happening. Even at his level of success, I think he's very down to earth. You know, I have worked on a lot of movies in my time. I did a lot of that down in Calgary, Alberta. I did work on the movie Interstellar, but I didn't get to meet Matthew because I was just there for basically the build of props and that kind of thing. So I kind of missed out on that. Darn, would have been awesome. But that being said, if you haven't listened to that book, give it a listen. Because in that book, he mentions another book. And I kind of mess up the title sometimes, but I'll confirm this later. The World's Greatest Salesman. And that salesman is you. I won't go too far into it, but it kind of comes down to listening to scrolls. One scroll for 30 days straight, 3 times a day. And you read that scroll. I actually listen to it. I'm a listening kind of guy. But I listen to it on audiobook. And I do that morning, lunch, and then before I go to bed. And I've done this book a few times, well, once actually, fully. I followed it 100%. And I found myself, I was more present, more understanding, and I kept my mouth shut. Instead of criticizing, I praised. And I think that's one big thing that moving forward, I have to get back to. So yeah, that's another book I'm going to highly recommend. You know what? I'll try to put a link. I'm kind of new to that. I'll put a link in the comments or in the description of this video, kind of where you can get it. It's on Apple. It's probably on other services for Android, but a great read. Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights and also The World's Greatest Salesman. And I actually find you'll actually come out of listening to those books a little more aware of what's going on around you and being aware of other people's lack of presence, and when they actually put the energy out to be present, and you'll be alert to that. Now, moving forward, the next video, I'll be a little more organized. I kind of want to kind of break into other things, like my wife and I are actively discussing, you know, during retirement, moving abroad. And I want to discuss some of the ideas that we have and some of the regions that we're thinking of. And I want some feedback from the folks that are joining this channel. Hopefully we get some more. What are you doing? If you're from the United States, if you're from Canada, anywhere around the world, are you thinking about relocating? And like I mentioned before, Canada, great country. Well, things have changed a lot since I was a kid or my early teens and 20s. But things are expensive. And I'm really feeling it now, having 3, you know, younger kids still, that when I retire, I want to have a good time. I want to be able to drive a sports car through Europe or wherever we end up, maybe in Canada. So I do want to do things. I don't want to be that guy that sits on the couch. I want to be active, present, and also the ability to do things and not feel cash strapped all the time. I haven't been that financially perfect. You know, we've had some business ventures that didn't go that well. You know, I'm a car guy, so a lot of my income through my 20s and 30s and 40s got wasted, you know, on cars. But that was my go-to for mental stability. So, am I ready for financially? You know what, like I said, I gotta make some few choices on what to do, but yeah, I can make it work. My wife and I can do it. But we'll have to make sacrifices a little bit here and there. And that means maybe even downsizing our home. I was talking to my brother who lives in Ontario, and he just has chosen to do so. He bought a smaller home on the lake, and he's going to sell his bigger, beautiful home in the city that he lives in now. So it's going to save him a lot of money. I don't know his finances, but I imagine it's going to help out. He even mentioned it's going to save him thousands of dollars every year just in taxes. And we're kind of in the same boat. We can't downsize maybe yet. Well, we could, but our kids do want to stay in the house, in our home, a little bit longer. And I understand that. I got pulled away from my childhood home quite young, and I didn't like it. But if it comes down to our family traveling and sticking together, the kids are fully behind us, whatever we choose. I'm lucky my kids are homeschooled, as I mentioned, and we do have a nice, close connection with our children, and we actually enjoy just sitting around the table and talking. Not that they're not glued to their tablets, because they are, but that's another story. So with that being said, moving ahead, I'll come up with a lot more of a detailed plan of what I'm doing, where I'm going. But so far, to let you know, I am working out. I'm getting up at 4 in the morning, putting the time in, which isn't a lot if we do it right. We can see results with a little amount of time. And I've always been an early riser. 4 in the morning is nothing. 6 hours sleep is more than enough. More than likely, I should have a little bit more. But being a first responder for so many years, kind of used to the short nights at times. With that being said, I am progressing. I'll have more details of what I do. But again, maybe I'll come up and I'll show my workout plan a little bit more on the screen next video. It's very simple. And if you want to follow, great. If you have suggestions, throw them at me, because I'm open for anything. But I do like to train heavy, fast, in and out of the gym. I got better things to do because of what? I want to be present in life. So until next time, take care, everyone.